Well, Comrade Aremu joins us now to shed some light on this matter. He's the Vice President of NLC. Thank you for coming on this morning.
Thank you very much.
Well, this has actually been on back and forth. It pops up in the news, it dies down, pops up again, disappears. But then, what really is going on with this housing scheme?
Well, first of all, I want to say that, I didn't bargain for discussion on the housing scheme. My invitation says I should come and talk about the botched NLC elections. But they're all related. We can't run away from it. I'm also that you're sincerely featured at this drama that happened in Abuja. I think what I want to say briefly is that when you don't have respect for due diligence and due process, I think we run into this kind of crisis. It's quite unfortunate. We were quite intentioned to address the housing crisis that faces a lot of workers in this country. And of course, NLC went into partnership with a developer, with a view of providing house houses for a good number of workers or subscribers who subscribe to it. But with the benefit of insight now, I think it is clear the NLC did not do proper due diligence. And when I say NLC, including me, in the leadership, to find out the kind of developers we're having dealings with, what is the capacity, what is the competence. And it is clear from what the subscriber said, 2-3 years after, the more you see, the less you try to understand. But even at that, I want to say our finding here is that those who pay legitimately to the accounts which NLC opened, the fund is intact. But along the line, we also learned that the developer opened separate accounts, which without the authorization of the NLC, some subscriber put money there. And it was when we discovered that this parallel account was going on that the trigger for us to revisit the entire process, started. Now, the challenge is where do we go from there? And I think, as I was trying to say, that encounter at the Yaradua Center, NLC has the responsibility, to refund the money back to the subscribers. And NLC also have the responsibility to deal with this developer. And at the same time, it also has a responsibility to find out within our internal processes who are the people that brought this developer introduce him, and what are the conditions under which he operated that led us into this mess. And I want to say, after that outing at the Yaradua Center, we tried to have an enlarged meeting of the National Administrative Council of the NLC, and we had comprehensive meeting with subscribers, which we had an agreement to have a way to have exit out of this program and out of this mess. And the agreement, I think, is still subsisting. The agreement says that we must, as much as possible, start the process of refunding the subscribers. And we have to look for this other developer who's a co-signatory to our check, prosecute him first, because it's also a criminal offense, and I think AFCC is already looking into that. But above all, we must find a way to compare the banks, through their internal process, because there's supposed to be he's a co-signatory, and it's on the run. Nobody has seen it, but we said we can use the internal mechanism of the bank to make sure that we have access to this account so that we can refund.
Who is on the run? Who is on the run?
They are the Chrislani. They said we haven't seen him.
The developer.
The developer, yeah, that's the point. And that's why several times I learned the SSS that intervened, I tried to look for him. Now we are formally reported to AFCC. Again, the devil's in the details. But what I can say here is that we have the responsibility, because it's our name, it's our brand. Many of the subscribers said as much.
And again, how did they get a different account number to deposit their savings?
Without NLC knowing.
Without NLC knowing.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Those are part of the distortion. I don't really have all the details. What I'm saying here is that it's an abuse of process, and I think that is where we must carry the responsibility of lack of proper thorough check and due process in a way that, the whole Congress, somebody can run parallel account in our name, with that our mandate. Again, I want to say that in the case is with the relevant authority who are scrutinizing, looking at or the file forensic check, I think they will know far more better. But what I can say here, as a member of the Executive Council under which this program takes place, we have the responsibility. And that's why even a good number of our people, unfortunately, were not addressing those workers. I took the risk of what it takes to address them and to say that we have the responsibility, just the way they have confidence in us to make contribution.
Why were they not
addressing? So also we have
the
contribution we have the responsibility to refund their money. Yeah.
Why is it that the leadership was not addressing that problem?
No, wait. Let me put it this way. There have been series of engagements which NLC has also done at the Secretariat of the
Formal
NLC.
engagement?
Yeah, formal engagement, but largely with the leadership of this subscribers group. But I don't think subscribers are looking for engagement. First, they want the houses with the subscriber. They are not forthcoming, and above all, they need their money to be paid back. And I think that's what we ought to get done. Yeah. And they did that on the eve of our delegate conference, because there's also legitimate fear that the current leadership is going and is going to have a liability for it. Although we have also assured them NLC is an institution. Nobody is going anywhere. NLC certainly is not going anywhere. NLC is the one that we have the business with. They must refund their money, regardless of any leadership that is there. But in any case, whether the current president of the NLC or any one of us that are there, we are made to return back and be accountable for the resources that have been accumulated, on behalf of the subscribers. I feel quite concerned about it. I know of a widow who saved, almost 1.9 million, with the hope that by now she wouldn't be a tenant, and now she couldn't get houses. And I was alarmed, to say, if this had happened, if any government agency had done this, NLC should lead that protest against that. How can we be found wanting? So he who has for equity must also come with cleaner hands, And I've no doubt in my mind that the process we set in motion, we must be able to refund the subscribers' money.
Well, I hope you do that with some interest as well, because that 1.9 million of 3 years ago is not 1.9 million of today, and all these differences really needs to be put into cognizance as well.
Not just with interest, but even with apology, and reassurance to restore back the confidence in the public that the public can do business with us.
You will return their money with interest.
Oh, definitely.
How much?
I wouldn't know. I've told you the details are not within my view. I'm saying not just with the interest, because if you put people's money in the savings, there should be interest. So we return to them. But I'm saying even with apology that this is an exception to the conduct of the NLC and it can't happen again.